As we get straight into the football tonight, and we start, Caro, before we get to Collingwood, with some breaking news around the AFL Commission and an unusual twist on its makeup.
Well, this is an extraordinary story in my view, that Patrick Dangerfield, currently the chairman of the AFL Players Association and the Geelong captain, media commentator, 8-time All-Australian, has been approached by Gillon McLachlan, the AFL CEO, to think about taking a role on the commission while still playing.
While playing.
That's the amazing part of the story. My understanding is that Patrick has spoken also briefly with Richard Goyder, the chairman. No decision has been made, but he has not, I'm told, knocked back the job yet. And look, unless there's something we don't know, and Geelong certainly don't believe to be the case that Patrick is retiring at the end of the year, and I don't think Patrick is planning on retiring at the end of the year, I think it would be not only a radical break from tradition, but pretty much against the current charter of the Commission, which is that you have to be independent. Now, I gather that conversations have been had about conflicts and how they would be managed, and that the AFL is determined to get a current voice of a player on the Commission.
He'd be fantastic on the Commission, but leave that aside. It's unprecedented, and surely the clubs wouldn't cop it.
There are already a couple of clubs who've contacted me and told me they just can't believe the story to be true.
It wouldn't be an issue it wouldn't be compromised on.
Well, it's hard to think. Well, playing matters, I guess. I mean, the AFL desperately need a football voice on the Commission. They haven't had one now for nearly 3 seasons, and that is dreadful.
It's an indictment if they've gone to an existing player, though, isn't it? If the gap is that great from what's available to...
Yet Lee Matthews would give away, we said earlier in the year, all his media commitments to go on the Commission. Like, I think he'd be unbelievable. So what is it about Lee that they're not jumping at and saying thank you for coming on the Commission? Because isn't he exactly what we need, Kane?
I would have thought so, Lordo. He would be the first choice for me. So would that mean that...
There are a lot of other names they're looking at, people ranging from Ted Richards to Chris Judd to Matthew Pavlich, even Matt de Boer, who's had a pretty impressive post-footy career.
Speaks to generational gap, though, doesn't it, when they're prepared to overlook Lee for a modern player?
I don't see why you wouldn't have Lee, or someone like Andrew Ireland, who I've been talking about for several years, and a pioneer up north, which I think they also need, and a younger player, a younger recently retired player. That Patrick is considering it is fascinating to me, and clearly he's not going to do anything until after they've done the current CBA. He couldn't. Or he would have to step down from his Players Association role. I also think it's really interesting that Gillon McLachlan has been the one who's made the approach, given that it's a commission role, and something I didn't think... I know he is a commissioner until he steps down at the end on grand final day, but I think it's unusual.